The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
And hello everybody, this is the K-Files. Welcome to the K-Files. We do that a little bit separate from the morning show, as you all know. Y'all know the drill. And we want to thank Statewide Insurance Group for sponsoring this show, and also to J.P. Barnes Safety and Consulting for sponsoring as well. J.P. is not on today. He had a mission out of town, so he'll be back with us next week. And so he kindly asked Trooper Wilson to be with us today. Trooper Jeff Wilson.
That's it.
So thank you for coming.
Happy to be here.
And you know, we haven't had the State Patrol on here before, so that's good. Maybe y'all are coming to the fold. We've got the sheriff's departments involved and the police departments. But you know, the reason we didn't really get the State Patrol involved was because you don't really associate the State Patrol with murders and things like that. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Sure. But first of all, we want to know a little bit about you. How long have you been with the State Patrol?
February will be 21 years.
21 years, so you're pretty seasoned.
So I'm on the downhill slide.
Yes, you are. Very good, very good. And you work out of Rocky Mount.
I do. I work right down here, right down the street from where we are today for Edgecombe and Nash County.
Okay, watch your speed on Tom Betts.
That's right.
I've already told him it's like a racetrack out there. So anyway, we're glad to have Tom Betts Highway, though. It's really, really cut to the chase to get to Wesleyan College, I'll tell you that, from the other side of town. Right. So, because I live on Old Carriage Road. Okay. So imagine the route I used to have to take when I came out this way. So anyway, 21 years, that's good. What made you want to be a state highway patrolman?
Well, I came to North Carolina to go to college, and while I was there, I began dating a girl whose father was a sheriff's deputy. And I would go and ride with him, and I got to see the troopers, and he talked about how at that time, in the early 90s, they were the best trained, the best paid.
Right.
It was the job to have.
Right.
And so that, I guess, got in my head that that's where I wanted to go.
Very good. So where are you from originally?
I went to high school in Texas.
Wow.
I came to North Carolina to go to college.
Well, that's impressive. Why?
And I stayed. So.
Why?
A friend of mine had a brother who went to UNC Charlotte, and we came out to visit, and I liked the area.
Oh, that's always good to hear. You know, I always want to hear from people that, you know, I know they ask, why are you asking all these questions? You know, but I always want to know why people like North Carolina, because I do.
Right.
I mean, I've lived here all my life and in Rocky Mount all my life, and I just love North Carolina.
It had a little of everything.
Yeah,
all
it
four
did.
seasons, which
Yeah.
I didn't get in Texas, and mountains
Right.
and ocean and
Yeah.
and everything in between.
Absolutely. So, well, we're glad to have you here in North Carolina, and glad to have you as one of our people that hopefully keep us safe, and you do an important job, even
Thank
though
you.
people don't always favor law enforcement. You should, and if you weren't doing anything wrong, then you'll be fine with law enforcement. And if you are doing something wrong, just accept it when they walk up to your car and say, I was speeding, I know, just write the ticket. You know, that's what I usually do.
It generally makes it a little easier.
I'm guilty, I know. So anyway, we're just glad to have Trooper Wilson this morning. We want to talk about a case that, interestingly, did involve the Highway Patrol, and that was Phillip Willoughby
Yes.
case. What exactly happened with this case?
This was right around Thanksgiving of last year. We received a call. Some farmers were moving equipment and happened to notice a body laying by the side of the road. So when we got there, we ultimately found who turned out to be Mr. Willoughby. We weren't sure if he'd been hit by a car or what exactly had happened. Typically, when you find a body by the side of the road, that's why
sure.
they're there.
Yeah.
In this case, he did have some trauma to his torso and his head. So it definitely could have been hit by a car, could have been thrown from a car. We called the sheriff's department, and they sent out their investigators. They are experts at collecting evidence and packaging it properly so that we could, if we locate a vehicle later, we can get the DNA. So you want to make sure that the chain of custody is correct. So the Nash County Sheriff's Department is great about coming out anytime we request. They've never said no. So they came out and collected several pieces of evidence. They looked at the body, and we all sort of got together and said, this doesn't look like a beating, it doesn't look like a fight. So that led us more down the path of being hit by a car. We did locate his vehicle later at a store there in Middlesex, and there was some video. He had some interaction with the police department earlier that night, so we kind of had a timeline of when he was last seen alive. There was some video of him walking, and so we had a window of when this may have occurred, being that rigor mortis had set in. He had been there for quite some time, so that made it a little more difficult.
Weren't some keys missing?
We did not locate his keys.
You did not find his keys?
We did not find his wallet. So some of the aspects of this case sort of lead us to believe that if someone did hit him, they got out, perhaps stole something from him. It's one of those things that is, unless the person that did it comes forward and said, this is what I did, it's all just speculation.
It's just tough to, no witnesses have come forward or anything?
No, we have received a lot of tips. We run all those down, and so far nothing's panned out. We seized a bunch of cars right around that time that were in the area that had damage, had them inspected by the State Bureau of Investigations. They sent someone out and did their forensic look at it. Nothing matched any type of damage for the car that would have been caused by a human. Deer and human. Those things create different types of damage on cars. One of the issues that we had in that area was there had been some deer wrecks. So there were several car parts. So it's difficult to say, where did this one come from? Did this headlight come from this wreck or a different one?
With deer,
and it's not like TV where I find a headlight and I put it in a box and it magically pops up and tells me whose car it is. That would be fantastic.
I know.
What we were able to find were several pieces that all came back to a General Motors, so it could be Chevy, GMC, either a truck or a van. The problem that we run into with this sort of thing is car manufacturers use a certain type of product for a long period of time. So this was like from 97 to 07 in trucks and vans. And if you look at how many Chevrolet or in GMC trucks and vans you see on the road, we did a search in DMV, and I believe it was over 700 vehicles just within a small radius of that area. And then when you start, taking it out, it's impossible to go and check. And this is still the United States. I can't just walk onto someone's property and say, I'm going to inspect your car.
Right.
I can ask, certainly, but short of any reasonable suspicion, which would then lead me to try to get a warrant, I would actually have to have probable cause to get a warrant to go look at this vehicle. And just saying, well, I know this guy owns a Chevy truck isn't enough for me to go on someone's property and look at their vehicle.
Wow. Well, again, the drill. 406-6736 is the hotline number. And if you know anything, and if you see something, say something. How many times has JP said that? If you know something, say something. So if anybody was in that vicinity, now tell us what the vicinity is.
This was on NC 231, just outside of Middlesex. You could actually see the city limit sign. So right at the first house when you going south out of Middlesex. That's where he was located.
If anybody saw anything, please call that number. Please. We feel like it is our duty to report things if we know something. Don't hold back. It's completely anonymous. Our hotline is anonymous. Nobody will know who you are. We do pay out. We have up to $15,000 that we pay, that we can pay you according to how much your tip is worth to us. To the police department, not to us, because we won't know on this television station. We will not know that you even called, except they will call us and tell me to write the check. So, you can make a little cash. If you know anything, just please let us know and come forward. The name again, Phillip Willoughby, Phillip Lee Willoughby, happened right there at 231 in Middlesex. If you were a passerby and saw the least little tip, people think, oh, that's nothing, that's insignificant, I'm not even going to call. Well, that might be the one thing that law enforcement is needing or waiting for. Isn't that right?
That is correct. We will run down any lead, no matter how far-fetched. We'll look into it. Several of the leads turned out to not be good as far as the Willoughby case. However, when we went and spoke to these people, we found people that had warrants, we found a lot of drugs, and we found a bunch of stolen guns. So it's just sort of a byproduct of people speaking up about things that don't look right to them.
Well, that's good. Now, see, there's another reason that has never been brought up on this show. That is another reason for you to come forward if you know something. Because if your tip does not pan out, it might lead to something else.
It might.
To another arrest.
And, Mr. Willoughby's mother, sister, and niece are, they, like anybody with an unsolved crime, they want that closure.
They want closure.
And one of the hardest parts of this job is not being able to provide that closure.
Yes.
I say the hardest part is when we have to go do the death notification, and it's really the only part of my job I really dislike. Is that part.
Sure. So again, we do plead with you to please come forward if you do know anything in this particular case. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit in depth, a little bit more about maybe the hiring process, and maybe I'm going to ask you, do you need help like everybody else? So we'll be right back.
The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
All right, and welcome back. Trooper Wilson, I want to ask you a question. You know, we seem to have, I get press releases from the Sheriff's Department and from various places, and we seem to be having a lot of chases lately.
Yes.
There was one on Old Carriage Road just 2 weeks ago where the trooper, I got trooper on the brain today, where the deputy's car went in the woods chasing, right. You probably remember that. But anyway, there's just a lot of chases. Why do these people run? What do they say to you when you stop them? Typically
when we do catch them, when we ask why didn't you stop, why did you run, it's I was scared. Generally, worst case scenario, if you do stop, you probably will get a ticket. If you have a warrant or some other issue, you might go to jail to do paperwork, but you're going to probably be out of there before I'm out of there. So there's really no reason not to stop. But if you don't stop and we chase you, and the Highway Patrol will still chase you, and we will do what's called a PIT, the precision immobilization technique, where we spin you out. We will catch you. We will take you to jail. Your bond will be substantially higher. You're going to be charged with a felony, and we're going to seize your car, and it will be sold at auction, and that money goes to the school board. So they enacted the run and done law several years ago, and it says, doesn't say we can take your car, it doesn't say we should, it says you shall seize this vehicle. No matter if I'm driving your car or you're driving mine, they will take it, sell it at an auction, and the money goes to the schools. Wow, isn't that something? I've already learned something this morning. So 99.5% of the people that run probably have a reason. They have drugs, they have something in that car. It's usually, or wanted, or something. They may have a gun or an outstanding warrant or a small amount of drugs. It's usually something that, had they just stopped, it really wouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah, we would deal with it, and we try to do it in a polite, professional manner. And get people on their way. And you know what? They wreck every time. I want to say to them, you're going to wreck. You know, I mean, you're just going to. Very rarely does the person just end up coming to a stop. Exactly. It usually ends up with either they crash, we crash, or a third party gets hurt. And it's so unfair. So that's why we do have a lot of restrictions as far as the chases go. We try to put out the stop sticks where it flattens the tires. We will do the pit just as soon as we can now. We don't want to be. That's the precision immobilization technique, where we come up beside them and tap the back end and it spins them around off the road. We try to do that as soon as we can, because we don't want these protracted long chases, because they very rarely end in a good way. Right. That's kind of what I thought. Why do y'all, I noticed when y'all pull a car, I saw a car pulled on 301 the other day, one of y'all's cars. And when you stop a car now, you kind of come at an angle behind them. The front of your car is, or is that just something? Some guys do that, some don't. And it depends. Through the years, different schools teach different things. When I first went through patrol school, they taught us to angle the car, and they said that way the engine's between you and them, and if they shot, it would be more. And if someone hits the car, it'll go, rather than go straight into that car and smash into you and hurt you, it would send your car off to the. So some guys do that. Now they teach sort of a different offset. And typically most troopers now, we're not going to walk up to the driver's window, we're going to walk up to the passenger side. Because that way traffic's not zooming past us. They're supposed to move over, but very rarely does anyone do that. So we typically go on the passenger side now. Yeah, the move over law is very important. I think we should really,
talk about the move over law and a little bit if you can.
I will. The move over law doesn't just apply to law enforcement. So it's sort of anybody with a flashing light, and it should just be polite manners to move over. If you were on the side of the road changing your tire, you wouldn't want cars zooming past you at 70 miles an hour.
Exactly.
You would want to move over. But the law applies to tow trucks, DOT workers, utility workers. So not just law enforcement. And you are supposed to either move over to the open lane if possible. If you can't, you're supposed to slow down.
Right.
So, and that doesn't mean slow down to 55 because you're going 70 in the 55. You should be below the posted speed limit.
Right. Well, I can see, I didn't really pay attention to that. I always just, common sense, I guess, moved over if I saw something like that. But until Jeff Rackley got killed, Rackley's towing, when that happened, there was a lot of talk about that law. We had somebody on here to talk about it because that was just so unfortunate, and that's what can happen. And I also want to talk about how this day and time, the way things are, when y'all get out of a car, the anxiety you must feel. Do you feel? How do you? I don't know what's in this car up here.
Right. And there is a certain level of fear that goes into this job, and that's sort of what keeps you safe. It reminds you of your tactics you should use, and we try to approach every car the same because I don't know who's bad and who's not. But 99.9% of the people that we come into contact with, we're just having a bad moment that we happen to see and catch.
Right.
So they're good folks. So. But we do have to be prepared, and that's why sometimes people will call and say, I didn't like the way that guy approached my car, or he stood at an angle and he didn't walk all the way up to the window. Well, I'm not going to present myself at your window as a big target. So, there is a certain level of anxiety and fear that goes into every stop. But
it's part of the job.
It sounds silly, but it is part of the job. And if you think that you wouldn't like that, then by all means, there are jobs out there that don't entail that. So.
Right. And that brings us to the next thing. Recruiting.
Right. We are hiring like every place else. We have the now hiring sign out. There are several openings here in Nash County for troopers. There's even more vacancies in Edgecombe County. It's just a difficult place for us to recruit people from this area.
Right.
They can go to some of these other agencies and make a little more money, so they typically will do that.
How many people do you normally have employed in Nash and Edgecombe County? Do you know how many troopers you normally?
There should be 14 troopers in Nash and 10 in Edgecombe.
Okay.
So right now there are 5 in Edgecombe, so we're at 50%. So you can imagine that, if you crash, if he's nearby, you might have a great response time. If he's not nearby, because Edgecombe can be a fairly sizable area, it could take a little bit of time to get there. Now, here in Nash and Edgecombe, we are very fortunate to have former troopers as sheriffs.
Yes.
So we work very well with them. They will respond very quickly. Sheriff Atkinson, Sheriff Stone have been fantastic about that, telling their guys to go out there and sort of make sure everything's okay before we can get there.
Right.
So we do enjoy a very good relationship with those folks.
And that's what it's all about. You've got to have a relationship to solve crimes and with everything that's going on. You've got to have good relationships, and I think our law enforcement here has that. As a matter of fact, I heard through the grapevine yesterday that one of the speakers at the convention, the police chief convention downtown, made a comment. He said, y'all have one in each county, 2 of the best sheriffs in the state. He said, I want to make sure y'all know that.
Right.
And there were other police chiefs, they said, from all over the state. Right. And this guy's saying that here. So, to them. So, that just kind of makes us feel good. It really
it
does.
Should. And I have worked all around North Carolina with the Highway Patrol, and it's not typical. The sheriffs here are not typical of what I've seen other places.
Right.
When things happen, they personally show up.
Yeah.
They're there, they're invested.
They're hands-on.
They're very hands-on, and they care about the citizens.
Right.
And I don't want to say other places don't care, but they're not as involved.
Right. Some sheriffs are more administrative, if you want to say that, if you will, than others. Some are more hands-on, some, it just depends on the personality. But anyway, let's go back to recruiting. So what are some of the advantages? Folks might just think of the bad, like we were talking about a while ago, some of the apprehension you feel when you get out of the car. People think, I just don't think I want to do that. But what are some of the advantages of being a highway patrol?
I personally think that the pay is not bad.
Okay.
For a state trooper, the top pay for an actual trooper is, I believe, $70,000. And then they get shift premium.
Wow.
For working at night, they get
Y'all better
holiday
apply.
pay. So a top pay trooper makes $72,000, $73,000. Sergeants more, first sergeants on up. So it's not bad.
Not bad.
And you get a take-home car. So I don't buy gas to go to work.
Wow.
Think about how much money you spend in gas or clothing.
Yeah.
I get uniforms.
Absolutely.
So there are some benefits to it, as monetarily.
Well, the pay is good.
The pay it's okay for law enforcement. It's sort of in the middle ground, but we do get state benefits. So you get health insurance, you get a 401k that the state contributes to, you get a retirement, a pension, so to speak. So typically, I've always heard, obviously I'm not retired yet, but they've always said you'll get more money in retirement than you do while you're working.
Wow.
Because of all
that's
those
what
things, the
say.
401k, the pension, and so it's,
Well, there are reasons why, folks, you might want to apply. So if somebody wanted to apply, where would they go? What would they? How would they go about it?
We have recruiters for each troop. So we're in Troop C, so that recruiter's out of Raleigh, but and he can come to you, he can speak to you on the phone, but if you want to actually fill out the application, the interest card, I believe is what they call it, is at ncdps.gov, the North Carolina Department of Public Safety.gov.
Right.
They go on there, and I believe it has a button that says apply now.
Yeah.
And it goes through the minimum requirements. You have to be 21, certain vision requirements corrected to, I think, 2020 probably.
Right.
There's certain restrictions on drug use, obviously. You're going to have to take a drug test, so you should know whether you're going to pass that test or not before you go take it.
Right. And how physically fit do you have to be, or do?
For the highway patrol,
I was going to bring donuts this morning. I said we have a highway patrol coming. They're physically fit. I'm
not a big donut eater. I like donuts, but you probably need to be able to run 1.5 miles in 10 minutes or less.
Okay.
Part of the test is you do push-ups, sit-ups, and so obviously you're ranked by how well you do as far as that hiring process goes.
Have you ever had to do a foot chase?
I have been in many foot chases.
Many,
yes.
I figured. 21 years, yes.
I do enjoy those. I'm a runner, so
really,
I kind of giggle a little bit when somebody jumps out and runs off, and I say, all right, if you want to run, we can run.
And you call for backup?
That is our policy. Yes, you're supposed to.
See, I was going to ask you that. I know now you would more than in the past probably call for backup.
Right.
So
our policy manual is as thick as the Bible. So when someone jumps out of a car, I've got to call in that someone, I'm chasing someone on foot, give a description. I have to clear the car, make sure there's not somebody waiting.
Right.
Sometimes you get up there and there's a child, and so you don't chase after the person. You're going to stay with the child. And,
It's amazing what people do when they've got children in the car. I've always
and
said
that's the saddest part.
It is.
I don't really get bothered by too much that happens at this job unless there's children involved. And it's usually senseless the way folks treat their children.
Okay, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with you right after this.
The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.
Okay. I was asking Trooper Wilson on the break some various things about safety, and he mentioned seat belts. Y'all still do give seat belts?
We write a lot of seatbelt tickets, yes. Here in North Carolina, you're required to wear a seatbelt in any position in the car, even the back seat.
So you are still giving seatbelt tickets?
We do. We focus on what they call the life-saving categories, which would be seatbelt, speed, and DWI.
Okay.
So that's kind of our main focus. And aggressive driving, which can encompass running red lights, road rage. We see a lot more road rage these days.
Yes.
I'm not sure what happened to the days of when you cut somebody off and you wave and said, I'm sorry.
I know.
Now it's, cuss them out, point a gun,
yes,
get in a fist fight in the middle of the road. I kind of miss the old days of people just waving and saying they're sorry.
I do too, but you know what? Do not do that, because if you say something, they cut you off, you're just going to have to bite your tongue, because this day and time, and I know I keep saying that, but no, you might just get a gun in your face. So don't do it. Just bite your tongue and say, okay, they're just stupid. So just talk to yourself, because it can get very dangerous, don't you think?
It can. I've seen it many times.
Yes.
And there's really no reason for it. So.
Yeah, it's really not. So, but we are still giving seatbelt tickets, so please buckle up. I know you have campaigns, the click it or ticket.
Right, they
You
have
still
all
do
those rhymey things. Yes, click and ticket, no need for speed, booze it and lose it. So
Right.
we have more campaigns now than we ever did in the past. So,
Right.
Recently we've had some booze it and lose it campaigns where we had they call it the Batmobile, which is the breath alcohol testing mobile.
Yes.
You see the big bus with the handcuffs painted on the side. We did a project in Sharpsburg, I believe Rocky Mount put that together, and the Sheriff's Department also has a Governor's
Right.
Highway Safety Program grant where they do that, and they have a coordinator who set one up recently. So Sharpsburg is kind of a hot spot where we go. We try to pick spots where we see a need.
Right.
We don't just pick them in random.
You're doing a lot of traffic stops, aren't you?
We do a lot of traffic stops. With Highway Patrol, that's really all we do is traffic stops.
Right.
We also do, they call them TSI, which is Traffic Safety Information Programs, where we go to the schools. A lot of times you'll see trooper cars out front of schools. When school shootings became a big thing, we started going, and anytime a trooper needs to complete a rec report or just read his email, anything, we'll go park in front of a school to hopefully be visible.
Yeah,
We never know what we deter. So,
Right.
But that's why a lot of times parents will call and say, "Why is there a trooper sitting in front of my child's school?"
Right.
And it could be.
Be thankful for it.
It could be any reason. It could be that he just wanted to pull over and use his phone. He maybe need to go inside, go to the bathroom. And,
Yeah.
But we try to use those spots for things like that.
Absolutely.
So, for busy work.
Right. So typically when you do these traffic stops, and I've always thought it was amazing that when you're looking for someone, and I'm talking about any law enforcement, when you're looking for someone, or you think or you're trying to do a drug bust on something that maybe you just saw, as law enforcement, you do a traffic stop to get them instead of going up to them in their situation. You do a traffic stop. Why is that? You see, do you get what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, if there was a drug deal going down, why don't they come zooming in? Usually that heightens everything, and that's when people flee. They spur of the moment, they may pull a gun, they may fight. They do. Generally, once their interaction's over, and they drive off, they'll stop, and it's a little bit more relaxed type of interaction then.
Yes.
So that's why. It's,
okay.
You know,
and I thought that.
Sure, and if they were in a parking lot, say at Walmart, there's a lot of people around, and so we have to take into account, do I do this in the parking lot, or do I wait for them to go down the road a ways where it's a little more isolated, and if something does occur, I'm the only one in danger as opposed to all these poor folks trying to shop for the day.
I'm sure you've seen it all in with these traffic stops. What is one of the most unique things you've seen in a traffic stop? Anything particular? Or is
every
it just
couple years
old?
It seems like you'll stop someone who's naked, or mental health has become more and more of an issue.
Yes, it has.
20 years ago when I started, very rarely did I run across anyone who was having an episode of any kind, and now it's much more common. I don't know why that is, but people will say and do some crazy things. But the naked people seems to kind of stand out.
Golly, Dave, what do you do when you stop somebody like that? What do you do? Not trying to embarrass you, but what do you do?
It's one of those things you sort of smile to yourself and you think, well, I guess he's not hiding anything. You can see everything right there. And
wow, that's funny.
You immediately know that you're dealing with something a little out of the norm.
Right, another day at the office. Right. Oh gosh, that's funny. I just can't imagine, but yes, I can imagine. So anyway, I want to dispel, do y'all have a quota?
No, we do not have quotas. There's
Everybody says, he's got to meet his quota today.
In North Carolina, there is an actual law that says you cannot have quotas.
Okay.
But like anything, if I was a car salesman, they would rate me on how many cars I sold. So
right.
As a trooper, if I don't write any tickets and I don't investigate any wrecks or arrest any drunks, it's people. We often hear people say, "Well, I'm a taxpayer. You work for me." Well, you're right, I do, and I want to give you your money's worth.
Right,
so,
right.
But I've always said I wish there was a quota. It would make it a lot easier if I knew. Go write 10 tickets and you're done for the day.
Yeah,
so,
really. And you can certainly find the speeders.
There's no shortage of speeders. So when people say, I hope you hit your quota, well, I can go to 95, I can go to 301, 64, any time of day and find speeders. I can find, people texting and driving.
If you stop somebody on 95 for speeding, which I've told Sheriff Stone a million times, he says, people that have drugs in the car that are coming maybe from Florida, they'll speed. Why would you do that? If you've got drugs in the car, why do you call attention?
I don't know. We had one yesterday on 95, same exact scenario where the guy was from Florida and he passed me going north on 95 speeding and stopped him, and we ended up finding a kilo of cocaine in his car. So I don't know why you wouldn't set your cruise control.
You would never have stopped him for drugs because you would have had no reason if he hadn't have been doing something else. But so what do you do? So do you call the sheriff's department or another department if you find the drugs?
In this case, the sheriff's department came. They assisted us with that stop, and they ultimately charged the person.
Because y'all typically handle the speeding.
We can do the drug stuff. Typically, troopers aren't going to be able to work it further than just the charge.
Okay.
Whereas the sheriff's department has task force folks that work with the DEA, and they can interview and maybe work it up the line a little bit and find out where these things are coming from and going to.
Okay, that sounds good. I thought we had a call. Guess we lost them.
All right.
But anyway, I always wondered if y'all could process the drugs as well as the speeding ticket.
Sure, we can. We typically will give it to somebody that can do more with it.
Yeah, sure, and that's good. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. First of all, great show.
Thank you.
Really appreciate having another one of the law enforcement team show up. Hopefully, he'll come back again and talk to us some more about patrolling our highways and even the anomalies of murder.
Yes.
So
Yes, I've already asked him to come back.
Good.
You can believe that. So, yes, we are glad to incorporate the Highway Patrol in what we are trying to do with the unsolved murders, yes.
That's outstanding. And hopefully he'll also contribute to our next publication so he can go ahead and give us some of his intake input as well. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. Again, great show, and I know you're getting ready to wind down. So Godspeed.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. That is General Arnold Gordon Bray. He is the president of he's the chairman of our board.
Right.
We have a board with the K-Files called Team Cold Case, where we have to fundraise in order to have money to pay out. So it's kind of how it works. And he's the chairman of our board. I didn't know my boss was watching this morning, but anyway, glad he was, and he approves. So that is good. You've had some very valuable information that you've imparted to the audience this morning, I think. I do want to ask you to come back another time, and if there isn't a murder case, and if you do want to come and talk about any of the other murders that you're working on in Edgecombe County, please let us know. Anytime y'all have a case, we would like to have you on as well.
Sure.
So representing our wonderful North Carolina State Highway Patrol. Remember, folks, they're not the enemy. They really do. They keep us safe, and we have to realize that. They're there to keep us safe. And as Trooper Wilson said, yes, we do have a bad day occasionally. Even I speed, y'all. I know y'all don't believe that, but even I do sometimes. Just hope I don't get caught. But if I do, I'm just going to say, well, thank you probably for slowing me down, because it's no telling what I might have run into. So anyway, so glad you were here today, and we appreciate your agency as well as all the other law enforcement. I mean, that's what we're about here. We appreciate law enforcement, and hopefully our viewers do as well. So you have a great day, and thank you for coming.
Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. And thank you, folks, for watching the K-Files and our morning show this morning, and we'll see you tomorrow.
The annual enrollment period for your Medicare needs and changes is coming soon, October 15th through December 7th. Locally owned with over 75 years experience, Statewide Insurers Group provides the knowledge and expertise needed to ensure you find the proper Medicare coverage right for you.
Relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers you need now. Call us at 252-316-8166.
Being prepared and trained is the best way to keep your family safe. The best way to be prepared is to learn from those who've spent a lifetime protecting us. Barnes Safety and Consulting LLC offers concealed carry classes with instructors who are law enforcement officers active and retired with more than 100 years of law enforcement experience. Monthly classes are taught year-round with private classes and special group rates available. Classes are $75 and held in the Bailey area. Call or text 1-800-653-0643. Get your concealed carry permit and avoid becoming a victim.